Hello everyone and good afternoon. My name is Don Arleth and welcome to World News. In an exclusive double interview for TVP World with Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski and European Commissioner for Enlargement Marta Kos, Kos urged the Ukrainian government to reverse its new law that makes anti-corruption agencies answer to the prosecutor general. She shares the concern of protesters in Ukraine that the law could undermine the independence of anti-corruption agencies.
The message to the President and to the government is that I'm concerned because fighting corruption is one of the basics on the way to become an EU member. And it is a precondition that the state is having independent anti-corruption agencies, organization. You know, it doesn't matter in which sense, because every country decides by itself how it will fight the corruption, but it has to be independent. In this respect, I expect that we will go back to the independent agencies. And for the citizens of Ukraine, I would say I am your biggest supporter, and I will stay your biggest supporter. And helping Ukraine becoming a member of the EU is the most important task I have as a commissioner for enlargement. And in this respect, that the people of Ukraine have shown that they care about their country. This is, for me, even if they are protesting, this is the most important question, because it means they care about their own country and they care how the government will tackle the corruption.
So your message to the President is reverse this law?
Yes, we will see how this will be done, but yes, it would be great if we would go back to the independent institutions.
Minister.
As a corrupt country, Ukraine will not make it into the EU, says Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski in an exclusive interview with TVP World. Sikorski commented on the recent crackdown on top of anti-corruption agencies in Ukraine, saying it's up to President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to fix the situation.
The fastest way for Ukraine to lose the support both of the EU and the member states and the publics in member states is to go back to the bad old days of corruption. As a corrupt country, Ukraine will not make it into the EU. We have to be convinced that the authorities from top to bottom are determined to stamp out corruption.
So as a neighbour of Ukraine, do you feel that the raids in this new bill are political overreach, or, as the authorities are saying, that there could be evidence to suggest there are Russian spies, Russian infiltration?
I'm sure there are all kinds of shenanigans. We sympathize with Ukraine's resistance against Russian aggression, so it is up to President Zelenskyy to fix this.
The full interview with Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski and European Commissioner for Enlargement Marta Kos will be aired later tonight on TVP World. In another interview with TVP World, Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Goncharenko sharply criticized the Ukrainian government for curbing anti-corruption agencies. According to Goncharenko, the move is an undemocratic, un-European power grab orchestrated by President Zelenskyy.
It's a betrayal of Ukraine and Ukrainians, and it's not somewhat controversial. It's absolutely catastrophic bill, which Zelenskyy not just signed, but he prepared it, organized its voting in the parliament, and then signed it just in hours. And despite the fact that people came to the streets for the first time from the start of Russian full-scale invasion, because it's absolutely unacceptable. Unfortunately, Zelenskyy made his choice, and his choice is to build an autocratic country where he has complete control over everything. It's not democracy, it's not European way, it's something different. And it's very painful to see such development, especially at the moment when Russia is attacking us from outside. But this is an attack from inside.
And for his part, President Zelenskyy held a meeting on Wednesday with the heads of the Ukrainian law enforcement and anti-corruption agencies to establish a common strategy for combating corruption. The meeting took place amid widespread protests against the government crackdown on Ukraine's anti-corruption agencies.
We all hear what society has to say. We see what people expect from state institutions to ensure fairness and efficiency of each institution. we discussed the necessary administrative and legislative decisions that will strengthen the work of each institution, resolve existing contradictions, and remove threats. Everyone will work together, and we will support them at the political level. We agreed that next week we will have an in-depth working meeting on a common action plan, and in 2 weeks a joint plan should be ready. What steps are needed and will be implemented to strengthen Ukraine and resolve existing issues, provide more justice, and protect the interests of Ukrainian society.
And in other news, Ukrainian delegates led by National Security and Defense Council Secretary Rustem Umerov met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara today as they prepare for the third round of peace negotiations with Russia. The discussions scheduled to take place in Istanbul later this evening aim to address the ongoing conflict following previous rounds in May and June, which ended without any major breakthroughs. The key goal for the Ukrainian team is to facilitate a face-to-face meeting between President Zelenskyy and Russian President Vladimir Putin, a meeting that Putin has so far refused. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov reiterated that Moscow's war objectives remain unchanged, despite Ukraine's proposals for a 30-day ceasefire, which Russia has rejected in previous talks. Ukraine's priorities include further prisoner exchanges and the return of abducted children, Ukrainian children. However, officials from Kyiv have expressed concerns over Russia's approach, which they say has focused more on issuing ultimatums than engaging in genuine dialogue. Meanwhile, Poland is urging citizens living in Russia to leave immediately, citing limited consular support and mounting diplomatic tensions after Moscow called Poland a quote-unquote hostile state. In a statement from the Polish Foreign Ministry, officials said that due to the ongoing war in Ukraine and Poland's reduced diplomatic presence in Russia, all Polish nationals are advised to leave the country. The ministry also warned that individuals with dual citizenship could be forced to join the Russian military. The advisory follows the closure of the Polish consulates in St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad by Russian authorities. With fewer consular services available, Polish citizens may now need to seek help from consulates in neighboring countries, which may be difficult to reach due to limited transport options from inside Russia. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has announced a reshuffle of his cabinet in an effort to quell the turmoil caused by the coalition's loss of this year's presidential election. The cabinet has been trimmed down from 26 to 21 ministers.
One of the ministers to remain in his post is Radosław Sikorski. The foreign minister, however, has also been appointed deputy prime minister. The Ministry of Justice will be led by Justice Waldemar Żurek. He made a name for himself by vocally criticizing the judicial reforms introduced by the previous right-wing government. He replaces Adam Bodnar. Marcin Kierwiński, who was the main government coordinator for the response to last year's flood crisis, has been appointed Interior Minister. His predecessor, Tomasz Siemoniak, will remain coordinator of the security services. Andrzej Domański's role has been expanded, with economy added to his finance portfolio. The Ministry of Finance and Economy is one of the two newly created so-called super-ministries. The other is the Ministry of Energy, that merges elements of the environment, industry and climate ministries. That ministry will be led by Miłosz Motyka, who rose from being Deputy Minister for Climate. Other ministries that come under new leadership include those for health, state assets and culture.
And that concludes this edition of World News, but do stay with us because the bottom line with Marie Cato is coming up next.